I'll start out the questionings. Mr. Smith, I'll start out the questioning to Mr. Brock. This is information we should have had years ago, but it was recently revealed when John Radcliffe released a document that said the U.S. intelligence community reported back on July 26th of 2016 that allegedly approval by Hillary Clinton on July 26th, a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by Russian security services. Mr. Brock, in your testimony, you talked about the unequal application or the unequal treatment by the FBI of the Clinton campaign versus the Trump campaign. To me, this is just Exhibit A in that unequal treatment. Here you have the intelligence community actually knowing that it's Hillary Clinton approving of a plan to stir up this scandal, tying candidate Trump to Russian collusion. That kind of explains the whole Steele dossier, doesn't it? And the FBI knew that that was bought and paid for by the Hillary Clinton campaign. The FBI knew that the primary subsource of that Steele dossier had been investigated by them in 2009. They knew all of this for sure by the end of January 2017, but some of this information was known in July and in October. So speak a little bit in terms of the unequal treatment of the two campaigns. And also I want you to speak to, I agree with you that this was not an adequate predicate for an investigation, okay? But speak to the FBI guidelines about continuing an investigation when you have all this exculpatory information.
I think one of the...
Again, get the microphone closer to your...
One of the most puzzling aspects of this whole, it really is kind of a national tragedy. It's a tragedy for the FBI, certainly, as we look back and see the thin basis for launching an investigation like this. When you juxtapose the reasons that the FBI stated in their opening communication for starting up a case, and then their comments to the Inspector General later as to why they felt they were compelled to investigate the Trump campaign, they don't add up with a certain logic that should have been applied to the dossier and its connection to the Clinton campaign. If they applied the same logic to the dossier and the fact that the Clinton campaign arranged for and paid for that and received Russian disinformation, then they would have had to open up a separate counterintelligence investigation, and yet they didn't.
And quite honestly, close down the Trump investigation.
Well,
because it was predicated on all that false information.
It was predicated not only on thin information of fourth-hand hearsay, it also, the statements that they relied on contained two exculpatory statements that, A, there was no indication that the Trump campaign received or accepted the Russian suggestion that they had information damaging to Hillary Clinton, and B, the Russians were prepared to release it no matter what the Trump campaign did or not. That is in their own opening EC. That right there for an experienced counterintelligence leader in the FBI should have been enough to say, we don't have enough to open up a case.
So I want to address my next question to the two journalists. There really has been, and there is, an unholy alliance between liberals, Democrats, and the media. There is completely unequal treatment by the media, most of the media, Democrat versus Republican. Again, Exhibit A in this bias is how they treated the whole Russian hoax. And as our report showed, 125 leaks in the first 126 days that just drove this, sustained it, fueled this false narrative. I'll start with Ms. Atkinson. What duty do reporters have to reveal their sources when the sources give them false information?
It's a case-by-case thing. There is no standard across our profession. In fact, one of the things I've criticized is that at the beginning of the Trump administration, many news organizations announced that they were suspending their normal ethics and standards that dictate how their news organization typically deals with things such as use of anonymous sources, that they were suspending these because they said they needed to suspend their standards to cover a uniquely dangerous president. And I've argued, and I think you've observed, that I actually think there's no more important time for us to keep our standards and ethics than when we're covering somebody that maybe we don't like or we have strong feelings about. That's what standards are for. And instead, we saw this lifting starting in the 2016 time period and this changing of everything, you know, the way we used to cover things. And at CBS News, there were very strict rules we went by to use anonymous sources as a last resort and only with very certain and specific caveats and disclosures. All that has changed. And even, you know, the news organizations people used to consider the top ones in the country, if not the world. And there is no overarching body that dictates how this stuff has to be handled.
Well, as I've been trying to conduct these investigations over the last 6 years, one of the things I've certainly determined is it's an inquiring press that has access to sources that won't come to Congress because they don't trust Congress to keep their identities secure, confidential. So they go to the press. So the press finds out about this stuff a lot sooner than Congress does, or quite honestly, Department of Justice officials. So I fully understand and fully support a free press and any member of the press protecting the confidentiality of the sources. But that's when they're giving them true information. Mr. Smith, is there an obligation to protect a source that has given you false information?
Yeah, but I don't think it's.
Turn on your mic and get it close to you.
Yeah, I see it a little differently. I think that what we've seen, as I tried to describe in the opening statement, is an actual partnership between the press and people who are providing false information to prosecute a campaign against the Trump administration. I'm very familiar with the left-wing bias in the media. My family, father, grandfather, great-grandfather all worked in the press. I was the literary editor at the Village Voice, which was the first alternative weekly in America, co-founded by Norman Mailer. I come from the left. I'm familiar with left-wing bias. What we've seen the last several years has nothing to do with left-wing bias. This is not about partisanship. What we've seen is something very destructive and very dangerous. And how this started was, in part, because of the financial collapse of the prestige press, which began with the advent of the internet. We've seen as a consequence the moral and professional collapse of the press. What we're talking about now is not a normal media. It is a platform for information operations. It's not just about partisanship.